So I'm Shannon and this is Kayleigh, and we're the Queensland coordinators for the Captain Paul Watson Foundation in Australia. So we've both been on a few campaigns with the Paul Watson Foundation. We've done lots of activism over the years, so basically we'll talk about that a bit today, and also what's happening in Queensland at the moment. So
so a little bit about us. I have documented the shark fin trade in Indonesia. So these are my photos from a shark market in Lombok. And I've also been on campaign against the Grindadrop in the Faroe Islands with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation UK.
Also add as well, there is a little bit of graphic footage and photos in this, so just a bit of a warning for that. Yeah, I've been on campaign in Iceland to document the fin whaling that happens over there, and I've also been on campaign to the Faroe Islands twice for the Grindadrop, so the killing of the pilot whales and other pods of cetaceans over there. So the last time I was there after a grind, someone who actually lived across from the harbour where it happened invited us over and let us see the actual knife that they use to kill the pilot whales, and the hook that they used to use in the blowholes. The hook's now slightly different, but that was one of my photos from talking to a local there when I was on campaign. That's a fin whaling ship in Iceland, and that's also in Iceland. So we've both been on campaigns.
So at the moment it's important now more than ever to talk about saving the oceans and protecting marine life, because healthy oceans are essential for sustaining life on Earth. But we're currently facing major threats and ecological destruction in our oceans, which will have unprecedented consequences. So just a few of the threats that we're currently seeing: we've got fishing and bottom trawling, obviously, whaling, the harmful algal blooms in South Australia that you might have seen in the news a lot. They've been likened to an underwater bushfire and are likely attributed largely to climate change, ocean temperatures rising, and agricultural and urban runoff. So animal agriculture is actually feeding these the algal blooms in South Australia right now, which is causing huge marine ecosystem devastation. We've got reduced marine protected areas under the new Trump administration, which basically means there's more opportunities for fishing in areas that were previously protected. Deep sea mining is a new threat that we're seeing a lot of proposals for, and that will also have unprecedented consequences on marine ecosystems. Trophy hunting for marine life. So this is an Australian photo of a large shark being trophy hunted. So it's an Australian issue as well as a global issue, trophy hunting. Misleading and false labelling. So there's actually a lot of shark products that appear in cosmetics, pharmaceutical products and pet food, and they will be labelled as anything other than shark. So consumers are not aware of it, and it can cause a lot of confusion. So scientists have actually sampled moisturisers and found hammerhead DNA. So if you're not buying vegan and cruelty-free pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, you might actually be buying shark and supporting, I guess, a consumption of wildlife. And there's also coral bleaching that we're aware of, climate change, and shark culling, which we'll talk about a bit today.
Okay. So just an overview of the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. So we're a direct action marine protection organisation founded in 2022 by Captain Paul Watson. So Paul Watson was the co-founder of Greenpeace, and he also founded Sea Shepherd. So the Captain Paul Watson Foundation is his newest organisation that he's founded. The mission is to defend life in the sea through a unique strategy of aggressive non-violence and intervention against illegal operations exploiting life in the sea. So it is a direct action organisation. It is wanting to make positive change for the oceans and all the life that lives there. So marine animals, marine species are our clients. We're not working under government or anything like that. We're working for the animals in the oceans. And as you can see, Paul Watson's done lots of amazing things. He's been an environmental and animal rights activist for decades. We're part of the Paul Watson Foundation, started by Captain Paul Watson.
Cool. So transitioning into our first topic, does anyone know where these pictures might have been taken exactly 1 year ago today? Any guesses? Yeah. Yeah, so I took these photos a year ago today, exactly in the Faroe Islands when I was on campaign against the Grindadrop. So for context, does anyone know where the Faroe Islands are?
Does anyone not know where the Faroe Islands are?
Cool, okay, yeah, we've got it. We've got a map, it's all good.
So, got the UK, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands is this little group of islands just here. So they're sort of just in the middle. Kayleigh and I have both been on campaign there to document the Grindadráp, so the killing of pilot whales and other cetaceans, so like Atlantic white-sided dolphins, bottlenose dolphins. We'll talk a bit more about that now.
Just quickly before we move on. The Faroe Islands are an independent territory of Denmark. So they are not in the EU, so they're not subject to any EU laws. So in the EU, the killing of cetaceans is actually illegal, but because they're an independent territory of Denmark, they have their own political system and they're not subject to that law. So they are legally allowed to kill cetaceans, so dolphins and whales.
Yeah, it's interesting over there because everyone speaks Faroese, but they also speak Danish, and there's like a ferry that goes, from the Faroes to Denmark, and so they're part of Denmark, but also have their own way of doing things and exempt from that. So the Grindadráp is, like I said before, the killing of mostly pilot whales, but pretty much any pod of whales or dolphins that's spotted, they kill. The community all gets involved, and then the meat is divided amongst the community and those who participate. So they say they don't sell it, it's not commercially blah, 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 but you can buy it in the supermarkets over there, so something's not adding up there when they say it's not for profit sort of thing. When I was on campaign there as well, we did a lot of dumpster diving, and the amount of food waste that supermarkets throw out, it's not like they're a starving nation that are being sustained off this meat. It is something that they've done for hundreds of years. Back in the day, they had little rowboats, and they would use a wall of sound to drive the pods into the beach to beach them. So that'd be tapping on the boats and things like that. Now we have speedboats, high-powered speedboats.
Jet skis.
Jet skis, all sorts. They basically, the pilot whales as well, they follow a pilot like the lead whale, so they all stick together, so they're quite easy to herd. And they don't like to leave each other behind. They're they really stick together. And each pod is like a family, so there'll be different generations, so the grandparents, parents, kids. You'll see in a grind as well, once they've slaughtered them, there's a lot of them that are pregnant. But basically they drive them into the beach. They use the hook from the first slide to sort of drag them up. They have a spinal lance that they use to sever their spine, and then they use the knife to cut the throat and bleed them out. And then they sort of drain them out on the harbour, and then the whole community gets involved, kids and everyone, and they come along, cut them up and pass out all the meat. And then all the leftovers, which there is a lot, gets dumped back in the oceans. So they'll either put them in a truck and tip them off a cliff, or sometimes they'll put them in a boat that sort of has a bit in the middle that opens out, and then all the remains just end up in the ocean. Interesting thing as well, it's actually the law over there. If you spot a pod of whales, you have to report it to authorities. And that includes tourism boats, cruise ships, things like that legally. Yeah,
so you could be on a whale watching tour, and then the whale watching tour director is sees a pod and is secretly calling the authorities oh, there's a pod over here. Do we want to do a grind and kill them, basically? So yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, so it's not very nice. It's not necessary. It's pretty much a tradition that they've stuck to, guess for enjoyment, because they've always done it. You'll see at the grins as well, they bring kids along, so it's from a very early age, talking 4 or 5 year olds, that's normalised for them.
So this is a photo that I took last year on campaign. I pretty much got straight off the plane and walked into this scene. So this is my shadow in the photo. This was straight after the Sujagoda grind, where they killed 90 pilot whales. By that time, there had already been 2 grinds in 2 days, and in the span that I was there was 3 in 1 week, so totaling about 412 lives taken within the span of a week. So there's no quota, it's just completely random, there's no season for it. So this is the process of them cutting up the pilot whales and distributing the meat, essentially. And as Shannen already touched on, pilot whales live in pods their whole life, so this is wiping out entire families, entire gene pools, entire generations of knowledge. And there is very rare instances. Sometimes a pilot whale might escape and get very lucky, but they usually have a very low chance of survival if that happens because of the way that they live in pods. So a solo pilot whale is probably not going to make it by itself in the wild. When I was on campaign, we actually did see a pilot whale that had escaped a few days after this grind. And we called him Bobby because he was just sort of bobbing back and forth, not swimming very fast, almost beached himself. And we watched him for hours to make sure the Faroese didn't decide to just kill him. And after a few hours, he did start to swim sort of out of the fjord and more towards the open ocean, but he still would have had a few hours to go before he reached open ocean and would have been safer. And then I guess the likelihood of him finding another pod to join would have been very, very low. So it just speaks to the, I guess, low chances of survival that they have if any of them do escape. And then they also have to live with the fact that they've watched their entire family die in front of them. So they're, living with a lot of trauma, and it's almost probably potentially better to just be killed with their family at that point.
So when we both went on campaign, it was with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation UK, and they're the only NGO that has operated in the Faroe Islands for an extended period of time. So the Faroese will say that they do everything with like really high animal welfare standards. It's better than like farming animals to kill them, which obviously I'm sure none of us agree with farming animals to kill them to begin with. But I'm sure you can also agree that there's nothing humane or like kind done to animals the way they treat them. When I was on campaign, I went there 2 years in a row the first time. We had a guy on our campaign from Denmark who managed to sign up for one of the courses to get his license to participate in a grind. So it's something they've brought in recent years from pushback from like other countries and stuff saying this isn't humane, this isn't okay. And they're like, no, everyone's really highly trained. They have to do a course to participate. So in the last few years, they've brought in this course. This Danish member went along to the course, which was completely in Faroese, which he could not understand. He sat in a cinema for 45 minutes and watched like a PowerPoint presentation in Faroese. There was no like questionnaire, no quiz, no hands-on training, didn't have to touch any of the tools that they use. He just gave his details at the end, and then he got a license in the mail a few weeks later. So it goes to show how stringent their animal welfare standards are and what that really means. When I've been there as well, like you see like a lot of propeller marks in the bodies of the pilot whales after they've been killed. So the speedboats like drive over them when they're herding them into the beach to beach them. So there's just like so many parts that are horrible. And then there's no quotas, there's no limit. It's not like a one-off event. It can happen anytime. It can happen in the middle of the night. Because it is so far north, in summer you get like 24 hours of sunlight. So they're more likely to be grins in the summer months, and then in winter when it's dark more often, they're less likely to spot a pod. But there's not really any quotas or anything like that. It's just as many as they can kill, and it seems to be almost more for enjoyment rather than whatever other purpose they say it's for.
Yeah, so just to run you through an example of like things that can go wrong in a grind, because every single time, despite their welfare standards that they apparently have by law, our experience on the ground has shown us that every single time there is a grind, something goes wrong. So this is the grind that I witnessed, which was at Hervolvik. The chosen kill beach was extremely shallow, so there were several sandbanks in the water, so pilot whales were getting beached prior to slaughter, which would have created a lot of stress for them. There were also, we noticed when we watched footage back after the grind, that the pilot whales were diverting away from, like, around a point in the water, and we noticed that there were actually broken wooden planks sitting in the sand, like jutted out of the water. So the pilot whales were probably getting driven into that and then getting scratched or impaled on these wooden planks that were in the water. There was also images, we had lots of videos of men kicking the pilot whales while they were tied down with ropes before they were hooked and stabbed. So I guess it's just adding extra suffering. Kicking is obviously not in, it's definitely intending to make them suffer. And this particular grind as well, it was very abnormal. It was a 3-hour drive of the pod into the kill beach. So this is the Faroe Islands. This is where the pod was sighted off the coast of Runavik. And basically the boats drove this pod for 3 hours through this whole fjord into here, Havalvik, which is the kill beach. So 3 hours of getting chased prior to slaughter would have been extremely stressful and traumatic for them. So that's very abnormal as well. Like normally, I guess the drive times would usually be under an hour, potentially, on average.
So 26 kill beaches across the island. So normally the idea is like whatever the closest kill beach is, that's where they would drive the pod to. Yeah. So to like go past all these, I guess, potential kill beaches.
Yeah, and Torshavn too, like it's a lot quicker. So I have no idea why they chose this one that was ages away. But yeah, it was 3 hours of chasing them essentially prior to slaughter. So
and you can imagine how many are like run over by boats during this process as well, and the injuries they would have sustained.
Yeah.
So what it's like to be on a campaign. So basically we know a grind is happening because we get like a text alert on our phone and an email. We have this program that scans all the news articles, and for any keywords like grind, whale, any of the kill beach names, it'll send us a text message, and we have like a separate notification sound for that, like on full blast loud, so that we recognise it compared to just like a regular notification. And then we get the news article, we have to read it. There's a lot of false alarms, so sometimes it might be mentioning a previous grind that happened or something else, and it's not actually a grind. So we have to Google Translate it, try and figure out what the article's about, figure out which kill beach it's happening at, and then we have to be ready to go within 5 minutes. So we always have like our bags packed with camera, SD card, batteries, warm clothes, food, snacks, energy drinks, everything we could need, because we're not coming back until we've got like everything we can, pretty much, like all the footage, documented
you could be out for like 12 hours at a time.
Yeah, so the last grind that I went to, I think it was called around midday. So, a few hours for the grind to happen. They divided the meat amongst the community around 10 p.m. And then we also noticed that 3 of the pod of about 90 were put into a truck and they were taken somewhere. So we decided to follow the truck to see where they were going. We followed this truck for an hour and they weren't too happy about us following them. We get a lot of hostility from locals. They don't like us being there. But eventually it went all the way to Torshavn, which is the capital city, which is where the big supermarket is as well. And they ended up just dumping the bodies on the harbour and telling us to get lost pretty much. And there was a bit of a standoff. In the end they left and we're like, okay, they're gone, we'll come back the next morning. So we got home around 3 a.m, went through all the footage, downloaded it, backed it up, and then at 8 a.m. we went back to the harbour to see if the bodies were still there. And the same guys from last night were cutting them up, putting them into bins, and then once again they were like not happy at us taking photos and watching, but we suspect that those ones were taken from the pod to be sold in the supermarkets, which is what they say. They don't sell the meat, but I think that's why they were being especially secretive with that. But that's just, we sort of were out all day, so we had to make sure we were prepared for that. We do drills as well, so just because it can happen at any time, and if you go like maybe a week or 2 weeks and one hasn't happened, we don't want people to get like complacent and forget to have things ready to go. So the organisers over there will send us like a fake text and be like, oh, like we know it's a drill. They're like, oh, go to this kill beach and we have 5 minutes to get there, get ready. And just make sure everyone knows what they're doing, because all of us have different roles. Like you might be a drone operator, you might be doing the live stream for social media, might be doing photos, videos. There's a few other roles as well, which probably can't go into, but we're always like, I guess you can talk about like exploring different campaign angles while we're there.
Do you want to mention the safety as well? From your
and one other safety thing as well. The year I was there, like obviously the locals don't like us being there. We had like whale bones left on our doorstep. They had like a anti-Paul Watson Facebook page where they'd post photos of where we were staying on there for everyone to know where we were. And then one of the cars that we were using, it wasn't while I was there, it was like after I'd left campaign, but the same year, one of the wheels came off the car. And we took it to the mechanic, and all the nuts on all the wheels had been loosened. And if you've seen the Faroe Islands or been there, you'd know like there's like a lot of, you know, sheer cliff faces, and it's very mountainous, and it's all like the islands are very close to the water's edge. So there was like a high potential for that car to lose control and go off the side of a cliff. So it was pretty scary. So after that, the new rule was that before we get in the car each time, we have to do a safety check and make sure all the bolts are like screwed on properly and nothing looks like it's been tampered with. I think we started like setting up like a GoPro video live stream on the cars and things like that. So it's, and you know, that's probably just like one person that hated us that much that would do that, but it just takes one person for the, you know, the horrible consequences. So
yeah. Another thing that we do on campaign is try to explore a lot of different campaign angles to try and end the grind. So a lot of that involves talking to tourists, so just promoting awareness of the grind, because a lot of tourists will go there and not even know that the grind occurs. We also ask them to like not support the Faroese economy, and to not go on any tours while they're there, so puffin watching, whale watching, because obviously that increases the potential that a pod of whales or dolphins will be spotted. So they're basically creating opportunities for a grind by going on those tours. So we really try and, I guess, tell people who are going there as tourists to, well, firstly not go, but if you can avoid it. But if you're already there, please don't support the economy, and please don't go on any tours or on any boats with a local Faroese person, because then you will be legally obliged to report any pods you spot to the authorities. We were also sending a lot of emails to UK supermarkets to basically ask them to not supply Faroese salmon, because Faroese salmon is probably their biggest contributor to their GDP. So by doing this, we're basically trying to impose ethics-driven sanctions on the Faroe Islands by trying to hit them in their economy, I guess.
Cool. So yeah, on the Faroe Islands, like most of the Faroese don't like us being there. It's like their tradition, their way of life. You know, they don't want us filming this, getting media attention, having like pushback, which is, you know, why they had to introduce that licensing system to be able to participate in a grind and rules like that. They don't want those sort of regulations. We do have one amazing Captain Paul Watson Foundation member who like actually lives in the Faroe Islands. He's, you know, proud vegan, proud animal rights activist. And obviously, like, it must be so difficult for him living there all year. You know, we go on campaign, we're there for a few weeks, a few months, and then we go back and, you know, surrounded by vegans again and things like that. He lives there all the time. This is like what all the people around him participate in. And in 2021, there was actually a super pod of over 1,000 Atlantic white-sided dolphins that were killed. And it was a few days after all the UK-based and Danish and Norwegian like activists had left. So Parley was the only activist on the ground there to document it. So if he hadn't been there, that's, you know, over 1,000 dolphins killed in one day, one go, that potentially like would never have, the rest of the world would never have known about it. So all the footage and everything from that day was from him. I think the Faroese as well maybe didn't realise it was a super pod when they spotted it, because if you can imagine how long it would take to kill like one dolphin and how many people are involved, it took them hours and hours and hours and hours to kill that many dolphins. So all the other ones were just sort of waiting beached as, you know, the water turned blood red. So yeah, he sent us through a little video, so I'm going to play that now. But yeah, he's an absolute legend. We are so lucky to have, you know,
local support.
Local support.
One local.
Like him, who's like can film as well and like proudly like stand with us and against the grind.
It's just a bit graphic at the end, so warning.
Hello, I am Tunnicliffe from the Faroe Islands. I am the ambassador for the Captain Paul Watson Foundation UK. I am working on stopping the whale killing in the Faroe Islands, the island birds and white-sided dolphins. So it's been a challenge to do that because especially when you are from the Faroe Islands. They do everything to silence me, but I continue anyway.
So this is all his footage. So we've been talking about kill beaches in the Faroe Islands. They have 26. We actually have way more kill beaches in Queensland. So
as Amanda touched on in her speech, our coastline is littered with shark nets and drum lines that are designed to ensnare and kill sharks. So this is known as the Queensland Shark Control Program, and New South Wales has the Shark Management Program. So there is obviously a lot of other marine life that is impacted by these devices, and they are, well, I guess we'll go more into how they work and why they're not effective for swimmer safety.
Okay, so this is kind of what a shark net looks like. So as you can see, it doesn't go all the way to the ocean floor. So animals can swim underneath it, around it, and obviously get tangled in it. So they catch all sorts of animals, so sharks, dugongs, turtles, birds, fish, whales, dolphins. And sometimes they get tangled on the way coming out, so they go in, and then on the way out they get tangled in them. And then we'll also talk about drum lines a bit soon. But yeah, currently we have 86 beaches, and they cover approx 2,000 kilometres of the Queensland coast. And yeah, animals trapped in them attract more sharks. So if you can imagine there's like a dying or a dead dolphin in there, that's going to bring sharks closer to the beach. So not really making the beaches any safer, which is what they're sort of promoted as. And yeah, obviously extremely cruel, inefficient, harmful to the marine ecosystem. And I'll let Kayleigh jump in here.
So in Queensland and New South Wales alone, these programs have killed over 100,000 marine animals and counting. So that's since the infancy in 1937 in New South Wales, these were introduced, and 1962 in Queensland. So they've been going for a really long time and they haven't changed much, and they're still killing thousands of animals each year. In 2019, the Department of Fisheries actually helped introduce an exclusion zone around all shark control equipment. So basically that makes it illegal for any unauthorised persons to be within 20 metres of any shark control equipment. And they said it was due to safety, but I think we all know that it's to stop activists going and filming the nets and interfering with the nets and the drum lines. So now it's a big fine if you go in that zone. So yeah, we've just got a quick video to show this is basically what activists have taken before it was illegal.
So this is 2018, so the year before
they introduced that exclusion zone.
And this is on the Gold Coast, so this is like local footage.
So there's actually a whale calf and the mum's swimming around, really scared for the calf.
Yeah, I believe they did manage to get this calf out, but as you can see, like several animals die in the nets, and you wonder how well they'll go after going through such stress and trauma, exhaustion and everything from being trapped in the nets as well. So even if they do get them out, like it's not great. Is the baited drum lines, which is like a baited hook to attract sharks, and then to get them stuck on the hook. So that's our current protection measures on beaches in Queensland.
So the process with drumlines is any target species, so great white sharks, tiger sharks or bull sharks that are caught on a drumline are supposed to be killed. So they say, this is taken straight off the Department of Primary Industries website explaining the shark control program. So they say that they will euthanize the shark. So obviously they're killing them. I'm pretty sure they shoot them, so it's really awful. Except for in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, where they have a few more protections, they get tagged and relocated. But obviously that doesn't stop the chances of them going to another drumline somewhere else and getting killed. So any non-target species are released whenever possible, which is, I mean, they're basically just acknowledging that it's not always possible to release other species, and a lot of species do die in drumlines and nets. They also say that they service them regularly, weather permitting. So if there's a storm or really poor weather and a contractor can't get out safely to check the equipment, an animal could just be getting strangled for days and suffering. So yeah, they have all these sort of like ethical statements about the program, but in practice, it really doesn't actually add up.
Yeah, doesn't mean a lot for the animals.
Yeah.
So other species caught in nets. So I don't know how well everyone can see this, but we've got all sorts of animals. We've got dolphins, dugongs, different fish, trevally, turtles, jellyfish. So this is all on the Queensland Fisheries website. You can have a look at this. We've got 2024 and 2025 numbers. So this is not including sharks. This is like we've filtered out sharks and just put in other species. So yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, and this is some bycatch data. So as you can see, bycatch is representing over 50% of what's caught in these nets and drumlines. And also, even with technological advances, we can see that there is no, the average annual bycatch has actually gone up from the 2001 to 2020 period within the last 4 years. So the numbers are not getting any less, it's actually increasing by these statistics. So even with technological advances, it's not getting any better for the animals. Okay, so just a little bit of legislative context for the shark control program. Queensland and New South Wales are the only places in the world that have a lethal shark control program apart from South Africa and the Reunion Islands, which are a French territory. They're administered by the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries in accordance with the Fisheries Act, which has the intent to reduce the risk of shark bites on humans by killing the target shark species, which are great whites, tigers and bull sharks. So the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act is our main piece of federal environment legislation in Australia, and the intent of this act is to basically protect 9 matters of national environmental significance, which includes listed threatened species and ecological communities. So that includes great white sharks. So basically the shark control program does not actually align with this federal legislation. And the only reason that it is allowed to do that is because it's operating under an exemption, because the shark control program was introduced before the EPBC Act. So the EPBC Act came into effect in 1999. The shark control program has been going since 1937 in New South Wales and 1962 in Queensland. So because it was in existence before the EPBC Act was introduced, it has this exemption that means it's allowed to continue without federal intervention, as long as it does not expand or intensify. So that brings me on to the next point. The LNP government in Queensland has actually announced that they would like to expand it. So this should mean that the federal government has to be involved with approving the decision. So currently this is an unfolding situation and we don't have more information, but we're waiting for, I guess, any kind of news about this situation. So basically if the LNP government does really want to push this, and then the decision gets referred to the federal government, which it should if processes follow processes. Then there should actually be an opportunity for direct action from the public, where there is 10 days, the public can submit a proposal to the Federal Environment Minister, Murray Watts, and basically email him saying, we oppose the expansion of Queensland's shark control program. So please follow us, and we'll have a QR code link at the end where you can put in your email and we can send you some updates once we know more about the situation. But I think it's just really important to be aware that this is actually a thing that you can do, but the public actually does have say in this decision if it does get referred to the federal government, but it's only for 10 days that we have any kind of opportunity to actually say something about it. So just need to be very aware and spread the word with as many people as possible so that we can really get this program to stop. Yeah.
Quick question. You said at the beginning, and I'm fairly aware that the shark control program doesn't protect swimmers. Is there stats that says before they introduced this program, X number of people were being attacked by sharks?
I think
do we have stats since?
There's I guess there's a lot of variety in the different stats, because obviously the technology of data monitoring has changed a lot since 1937 and now, and also shark populations have decreased a lot since 1937 and now. So it's probably hard to compare that. I think the media was also a lot more probably anti-shark back then, so there were probably a lot more reportings of shark attacks, and there's probably the education around sharks was probably a lot worse. So people were swimming around dusk, and I guess not following proper precautions. So there's probably would have been, I guess, more fatal shark incidents back when the program was introduced, but not as a result of the shark control equipment. I wouldn't say that has anything to do with swimmer protection. I think it's just change of technology and shark populations decreasing, and then also just education around sharks and shark safety at beaches has increased.
And realistically, there's probably more people using the beaches nowadays, but
we're
swimming.
not getting more shark attacks. I would say it's not conclusive, but I would say probably no, yeah.
And other countries have gotten rid of them because they're not effective, right?
Yeah. And WA as well has gotten rid of them. Well, they have a barrier, which we'll get onto.
Yes, it brings us to the
slide.
next point. So alternatives to shark nets and drum lines to keep beachgoers safe. So obviously education, as Kayleigh was saying, using a bit of common sense, at times that you swim, and not swimming around areas where people are fishing, or people are dumping fishing parts back into the water and attracting sharks.
Yeah, just
Got,
not fishing full stop is
drone
good.
surveillance. Yeah, obviously that as well. Shark barriers. So they have a bunch of these already in Western Australia. So it's not actually a net, it's a barrier. So animals don't get stuck in it, and it goes all the way down, and it actually sections off, the part where you're swimming in. And this thing is really cool, which Kayleigh.
Yeah, so this is quite new technology. It's a magnetic barrier, and it mimics a kelp forest, which sharks don't actually like. So it's kind of a natural deterrent, just based on the fact, understanding shark behaviour and the fact that they don't like kelp forests. It's supposed to, I guess, deter them from an area.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So if everyone's got a smartphone right now, it's an opportunity for us all to take action and do something to try and get rid of our shark nets. So we've got a petition just here. So the website's there, or you can scan the QR code. So I'll just give everyone a minute to do that. It'll literally take a minute.
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for the work that you guys are doing in Faroe Islands. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
So, always has intrigued me, and it's pretty sad to see that happening, and you wonder why is this happening up there. So, is it because those people, they only depend on that food? Is it their only food source?
No, it's just a tradition.
The situation there.
They're
How do you treat other animals, my question. So he said, sounds like a very cruel kind of people there.
There's more sheep than people on the island, so they farm sheep as well. They also have a bunch of fish farms around.
They have a lot of fish farms, yeah.
So they eat that. They have one of the highest GDPs of any nation in the world, so they're a very wealthy place. They have supermarkets.
Supermarkets are full of vegan food.
Yeah, they're actually very vegan friendly, the supermarkets. Best vegan ice cream I've ever had in the Faroe Islands, of all places.
Yeah, vegan cheeses, there's
It's
there's no issues there with vegan food.
It's a tradition. It's a sport, I guess, or something they do for fun. It's like a community event. It's something that you do as a kid from an early age, so you're sort of desensitized to it and it's normalized.
I think because of there's a lot of tension between Denmark and the Faroe Islands. So the Faroe Islands don't want to be associated with Denmark. And because Denmark has, I guess in the EU, they have a strong stance against the killing of cetaceans, whales and dolphins. So the Faroe Islands have really attached themselves to the fact that they can do that legally. And they've really made it a part of their national identity. So they want to be Vikings basically, and they've really attached themselves to this culture of trying to, we can do this, we can kill cetaceans. Yeah.
I'll
we
just
do have one more. We might move to the next petition
as well,
and then do some questions.
Everyone could scan this one. It's actually Queensland Parliament one.
So if this one reaches a certain amount of signatures, they have to talk about it in Parliament. So this one's really important.
Awesome. And just while you're doing that, has everyone got it?
I have one more as well.
Yeah. Just one more quick wrap up
We
thing,
will
and then we can do a few questions.
We'll have time for questions in a second, but we have a few more slides.
Cool. So while you're filling out that petition, thank you so much, everyone.
Cool. So there's also this is a proposal from the Wildlife Trade Assessments team in the federal government. So currently there is a business in WA that wants to renew their license to collect wild hermit crabs from WA beaches and export them overseas into the pet trade. So until the 14th of July, there's an opportunity to actually write an email to the Wildlife Trade Assessments team in the federal government and basically tell them that you oppose the renewal of this license to commercially wild harvest land hermit crabs off WA. So we'll have a QR code link, and we can actually send you a draft.
We'll do an email template for you. You can change it up. We'll give you the email to send it to. If you also want us to send you an email once the SharkNet federal thing is enacted, when we have that 10-day period, scan the QR code. It just links to a little form that you can fill out. And if you are interested in volunteering with us or anything like that, there's a little checkbox for that.
Pop it in the form, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Everyone got it? Is anyone still waiting on? Everyone's got it? Cool. So just to wrap up, we wanted to focus on some positive ocean news that's happening right now.
So no fin whaling in Iceland this year, so that was one of the campaigns that I went on over there. So fin whales the second largest whales after the blue whales. They're not doing it this year, which is amazing.
French Polynesia has got new plans for marine protected areas. So there was the UN Ocean Conference recently, and French Polynesia was one of the biggest advocates for expanding their marine protected areas. And they have also said that they're going to reduce boat speed limits travelling between the islands after an incident earlier this year where a young juvenile humpback was killed as a result of a boat collision, which is really sad, but the fact that they have used this to actually drive positive policy change is something that we don't see in a lot of countries, so kudos to them. There's also scientists looking into expanding marine protected areas in Antarctica, which could be really great hopefully for whales in the Great Southern Ocean. And recently, the largest one-way migration of a great white shark ever was recorded, which is over 10,000 kilometres from South Africa to Indonesia. And just having data like this is really great to, I guess, show us more about shark behaviour, genetics, connectivity, and then it might also help us predict how these species will respond to climate change.
Just a couple of documentary suggestions for everyone as well, based on what we've been speaking about.
Yep, so Envoy, who created this documentary, is an organisation that we're aligned with against the shark culling. So yeah, they go into a lot more detail about the program in this documentary, so I'd really highly recommend watching it just so you can spread the word and be really informed about what's happening in Queensland and New South Wales. And the Faroe Islands is actually made from, well, the Captain Paul Watson Foundation UK has helped produce it. And this one's available on Waterbear, which is a free streaming service for, I guess, like ethics-driven documentaries. So it's got some really good things on it. But yeah, if you want to know more about anything we've talked about today, these are some great sources for viewing.
Cool. Awesome. And I guess we'll do questions now.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for the work you do as well.